sound. So I've started the recording. Would anyone like to offer a prayer? Okay, not hearing anyone, I'll do my very simple, basic prayer, and that is we ask the Creator, our Creator, for the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Hear, hear. I agree. Thank you,
Tom. Thank you.
Certainly. And then I'll just read this little preface. Welcome to the Connecticut General Assembly meeting. We are standing on our land and soil jurisdiction nation called Connecticut. We are here to restore our birthright government, a Republican form of government of the people, by the people, and for the people. A government whose primary duty is to protect your individual unalienable rights, freedoms, and property. You and I are stepping forward to voluntarily serve our fellow Connecticuters in pursuit of this ongoing challenge. We are assembled here to focus our time and effort by studying, sharing, organizing this organic body into a coherent working group with committees, affirming for the greater good of all the people of Connecticut, of all the people of Connecticut's 8 counties. So I thank you for stepping forward as a volunteer, reclaimer, and restorer. And then I'll just go ahead and do the Bivens decision. You know, everyone is well known here. This meeting is private. Bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner to eliminate all conflict, false allegations. Is there anyone in attendance at today's meeting who is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency or public agency of the federal, state, county, city, or township agencies present? Is there a response to the Bivens decision for the first time? Hearing none. For the second time? Hearing none. For the third time? Anyone who is here under false pretenses, anyone who is working for any foreign government, including the territorial United States or municipal United States, anyone who is being paid or coerced to be here, must fully disclose their presence and purpose now or leave the premises. If they subsequently show up as a federal witness, they are discredited for failure to disclose. And so now we'll do our roll call. So we'll start with anyone who comes to us from Fairfield County.
Here.
Here.
Excellent. Anyone who comes to us from Litchfield County? From Hartford County? From Middlesex County?
Here. Here.
From New London?
Here.
From New Haven? Here. From Towland? From Wyndham? All right. And that completes our roll call. So, what should we talk about? What's most important? I think just a brief roundup of some of the major things might be in order. I I find it an excellent resource to get emails, which you can sign up for from our sister in Louisiana, Amethyst. And let me see if I can pull up her email for you, and I'll put it in the chat. But you can sign up to receive her transcriptions of the webinar, the podcast, and I believe she was also might have done the coordinator training. Anyway, it's very, very useful to read it after the fact. I find that I get a lot of stuff that I would have otherwise missed. Would anyone else like that email?
Sure.
Sure, put it in the chat.
Let's see.
I think I receive things from Amethyst occasionally because we're notified via Paul Strammer, I believe, right?
Well, that's a different link to sign up for Paul Strammer.
Okay.
And that gets you Anna's articles, and it gets you an invite to the Monday webinar.
Right, but occasionally I'll see something indicating that Amethyst is having a this or that, but go ahead. I'm just letting you know I get something sometimes.
It's not pulling up here. No, maybe I can copy it. Let's see if I can do that. Anyway, I'm getting bogged down in the little details here, but so the fairly important things that have been talked about recently, one would be the fact that a bunch of people have joined the Global Family Group Network. And I believe it was maybe 2 weeks ago, Anna talked about some 300 million, and I believe it's mostly European people joining. And then in our more recent broadcast, she was talking about adding another 120 million.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? That many people have joined the bank?
The Global Family Group. So,
wow.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm a little sketchy on the details because that's pretty much what she said. She didn't really say anything about how they joined or, she didn't get into details about it. But my impression is that there must be some sizable groups of people who see this as a great opportunity to join an international trade bank and be able to skip over the whole SWIFT system, BRICS system, all these other systems, which are basically designed to make someone else rich.
Can I venture a speculation?
Please go ahead.
I've read, whether it's true or not, I don't know, that the American dollar is being quarantined against re-entry into the United States because those dollars that are worldwide would come flooding back and make it absolutely worthless if it was pouring in from every country across the globe. Maybe, if that's true, maybe that's why there's such a call to jump aboard the Global Family Network and what it offers, because those people are going, what am I going to do with my dollars now that this is going kaput? and I can't run them back into the United States and buy land or whatever else. So maybe they see this as their only avenue. It's pure speculation on my part, based on some level of rumor listening to that I do about worldwide money transactions.
I can't believe that many people even know about the bank, let alone join it.
Well, desperation makes people get very smart very quick. So maybe, I'm just pure speculation. I don't know if that's the reason or if it's an accurate number or anything. I yield.
I hope it's true.
Right, and it remains to be seen how that will all shake out and what it means. But you know, if that's truly the case, that does it makes a large difference for us. You know, to have so many people joining in, and this is the other.
That means they have to sign up, though. Also, they have to declare their status. They can't just join because they feel like it.
Yeah.
On a
yes,
whim.
Yes, they can. They can join the vault.
Oh. Right.
Right. Again, you know, I didn't get any details. Anna didn't go into those details, but it seems likely that what happened was a deal was struck with some larger networks, and that these people now have access to it. Anna did mention that there was going to be a huge influx of people, and that, of course, the volunteer army that's trying to manage a global family would be inundated, seriously challenged. But, you know, that's all I have for details. So,
thank you.
Anyway, I thought that was quite important to know. And because obviously the stumbling block that we all face right now is what happens when the FRN collapses and people lose faith and trust in it. And, you know, how do we get by on whatever we have, barter or silver or whatever we have? You know, if we have a bunch of vendors already plugged into our network, then we have a means to continue continue trade, not commercial buying and selling, in a lawful way that allows us to continue without having, without being stuck going through the corrupt system. Anyway.
Even though the funds, even though they're not fully funded, maybe that's not the right term. You know, they don't have access to the gold.
Well, as I understand it, we do have gold and we do have access to it.
Really?
But the problem is, pardon me?
Oh, I thought that was part of the problem, that they didn't have the gold.
Well, we certainly don't have all of it, but according to the latest word, we have been given clearance to the Avila Trust, which is a lot of gold.
Cool.
Anyway, the point is that it's more a question of who's plugged in and who's putting their faith and trust in the American Federation dollar and the American Federation system, right? Because it doesn't really matter what you have if you show up to your store and, you know, it's South African Krugerrands, they're probably going to look at you sideways. It's a gold piece, right? It's worth weight in gold, but the Stop and Shop is probably not going to take it, right?
They'll be waiting for their digital currency.
Probably, yes. Anyway, you get the point. We have to have a way to make it work. So I think some of the other, major developments that probably ought to be talked about are the credential card system is now issuing a brand new card. And Anita, were you one who received one of those new cards? Am I correct in that?
No, I haven't received a new one.
I'm
trying to remember who. Dave. Okay, I'm sorry. It was David who did. And so on this new card, there are a couple things that were missing from the old card that made the de facto say it wasn't a valid form of identification. And amongst those things were a signature, autograph, however you want to say it, an expiration date and an issue date, as well as a physical address. Dave, do you like your new card?
Yeah, I love it.
Excellent. Have you tried using it anywhere? Has anyone looked at it and said,
"No, I'm not.
What's that?"
No, I had. Well, I've shown it to friends and family, but no, I've not used it as a ID. But it certainly is the ID I intend to use. I'm looking at the front of it, and you probably have an idea, but you may be interested to hear how Paul Brandel gave me some guidance, and I adopted that guidance on my physical address because I feel confident to use it this way. But my physical address reads as follows: in care of Rural Free Delivery, non-domestic, without USA Incorporated, Old Lyme, Connecticut, 00000 for zip, County, New London. The reason being is my address is my private papers. It's like you don't want to be necessarily sharing that with the world, right? Or you don't want to share it in a hyper specific way. You really prefer to present it generally, because I can use other forms of indicating. Well, because let me put it this way: your address is in play by virtue of all the guidance we've received from Anna. You've got to be very careful about how you name and claim what you own, land, etc. So I don't mean to complicate.
I'm sorry. Huh? When you're ready, would you mind repeating it one more time, please?
Sure. This is by guidance from Paul Brandel in respect to the information he provided us to review in plugging in our new information to our new card. And also I consulted with him by email, and I did my own sense of evaluating what's appropriate for me. So my physical address is very generalized. And it says, in care of Rural Free Delivery, non-domestic, without the USA Inc. But it does name the town, Old Lyme, and it names the state, Connecticut. And it gives five zeros for the zip code, and county is New London. Moving on down, it's by with my signature, with my authorship, copyright, which the by is included on the card by default, and after that, colon follows my authorship and my personal circle with a C on it, in it. And then it gives the issuing authority as being the Connecticut Assembly. It gives the date issued, which for me was August 29th, 2024, and it expires August 10 years later, 10 years down the line, on August 28th, 2034. That's the front of the card. It indicates my nationality as American state national. And I'm a Connecticutter, and I'm with the uppercase the T in the United States of America, unincorporated, very specifically, with my thumbprint. And then if you want me to describe the back, I will. I'm not sure if you want me to go through that or not. That's the front.
So in other words, you stipulated how your address would read that way. It's not like
Exactly. I reviewed what was suggested, and I adopted it based on my own personal deep evaluation and saying, aha, yeah, this is exactly what I want. And as Paul Brandel said, when you go for your passport, you need two forms of ID. So one could be the American State National Card, and the other is likely to be something specified for the passport, which is likely to have your address on it. His comment to me was, pardon my French, but it's going to take some brass balls to use your ID presented by your Chicago 2020, whatever, what's that called? The law that allows two witnesses to attest to your identity. Minnesota Rule 2020. Or 220, Minnesota Rule 220, which gives Uniform Commercial Code right to just have two people claim who you are by notarization. So that would be ideal, as you go in with those Minnesota Rule 220, with those two testimonies from people that know you, with that address on it, whatever you use as that address, and that can be creative too. And you use your American State National Card. That is what is supposed to be sufficient to get a passport, but you probably won't get it with just those elements. You probably need something that's more familiar to the passport issuing authorities. I yield.
Well, I have here a sample card, I believe. I'm just trying to figure out where the hell it is and pull it up. But what I'll do in the meantime is I'll just pull up this LRO guide for users, which I'm pretty sure I sent that out in an email. Anyway, some of the stuff I've been getting from Terry Somm, was able to get coordinator call, Sunday call, stuff that she's been sharing with the coordinators. And so let's see, I'll go ahead and share this. And let's see, is everyone seeing a table of contents?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. And so what this is basically an updated guide, because if you're applying for this credential card, you will need to make sure that certain parts of your information on the LRO are updated. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll send an email out to everyone, but presumably you have this link and you'll be able to go to this members.americanstatenationals.us and log in and look at your own records. Someone like Kimberly's probably done this a lot for other people as well, because as a recorder, she's regularly putting stuff in here for other people. Anyway, so part of what I wanted to go over here is just this, there's a whole set of instructions on the things you need to do for that credential card. And then the other thing we received from Terry Sam was this brochure is finally out now, How to Build an Assembly. That might be useful for a General Assembly meeting.
Yeah, good.
Definitely.
Anyway, so I'm just going to scroll through this a little bit. I don't think we really need to go through this point by point, but you can see that it's a fairly simple format here, and similar to some of her books. And in this particular copy, of course, it sends us to, I believe it will send us to links. Yes, Statue of Abraham Lincoln in Westminster, London. And here's another excellent link to the executive order that became the Libra Code at the Avalon.law.yale.edu, 19th century. Pretty easy to look up. That's what we've been operating under ever since, although most people don't recognize that. Anyway, so this is something we probably all need to look at and read through. And again, I won't spend a whole lot of time here, but it's a very important piece for us to have in our hands. So I'll send an email out with all that stuff in it. There's also a training video that Christy Leeper does. It goes through this fairly thoroughly. He talks about the whole address thing that Dave just mentioned, what address you might want to put on, and I'll show you just here a quick example of what you get from Amethyst. So this is probably the most recent email from Amethyst, and apparently she's using something called TurboScribe. But again, I find it very, very useful to go back through these, and there's something about reading something that you've only listened to that is very helpful to get a different texture on what was just discussed. Now, anyway, highly recommend this. Is it perfect? No, but it's certainly a big help, I think. All right, so I'm going to stop the share here. And I'll try and include everyone in the email. I think I've already emailed this to Eugene and Dave. I don't remember who else, but I find it extremely useful and important that we are, trying to stay plugged into the latest and greatest stuff that's coming down the pike for us. And those are some great ways to do that, through Amethyst and through the stuff from Terry Salem, as well as, of course, the articles from Paul Stramer and the podcast and the webinar. And don't forget the Mop and Bucket channel on Rumble, where you can watch the coordinator training replays, which, even if you don't want to become a coordinator, are very, very informative. Lots of good stuff discussed there. Very, very helpful. All right, so let's see. We're already at almost 20 after. I think probably the sensible thing to do at this point is go to open discussion. One thing I should mention before we do that is Eric Montgomery had just had a thing going on where he was summoned to a court in Stamford, and in the last Rural Assembly meeting we went over various stuff that might be helpful to him, and of course this most recent stuff that came out in Nana's article he was very interested in, and so we're looking forward to hearing what Eric has to say about how that all shook out. But just very simply put, he ran into financial difficulty about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, and stopped paying on a Discover card. And then this notice summons was sent to an old address, which was his mother's. And the way the mail got to his mother, she lives on the second floor, and it was so it was a lady on the first floor who got the actual thing. So it wasn't even actually properly served. They're supposed to, say, are you so-and-so and so-and-so, and then hand you the thing and say, you're served. Well, not even close to that.
Wow.
But it was like 2 weeks before he even knew that there was anything that he had to deal with. So he was kind of behind the 8 ball on that. Anyway, so again, practical application of the stuff that we're trying to use here to see how it works with a de facto, all very important for us to stay on top of that. Anyway, I think I'll open it up for anyone who has new business or questions or things they just are wondering about. Anyone care to chime in?
If I may, Tom, just thank you for your update there, and yeah, please do send me that email if you don't mind.
Of course.
Me too.
Okay, certainly. Well, I think probably. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Has anybody given thought to the electric companies breaking up, showing the bill, how the tranches or the partitions are allocated across 4 different elements: the generation of the power, the transmission of the power, the local delivery, and then the public benefit, something that they call it. Has anybody contemplated that or given thought to it?
I actually deducted the public benefit from my payment the last month.
I did too.
And wrote on there that I wasn't to be extorted, that I did not agree to this, that I did not consent. And they just sent me a, balance forwarded to my next bill with extra payment for that, unwise.
I suspect they will do that continually until they have an opportunity to say it's a court or a summonsable event. But those 5 or 6 articles, recent articles of Anna, which I'm studying, really tell you how to deal with that. It's just I'm studying them very, very carefully, word for every punctuation, every dotted I, every crossed T. And it's for the declared Americans only, Part 1, 2, and 3. Part 1 isn't labeled as Part 1. It just says for declared Americans only. But it gets right down to even mentioning electric companies and their rights of ways and things like that, how that money is coming from a trust and they're double dipping. In other words, we're already covered for the payment to the electric company via the trust, and they're double dipping and trying to top off the trust with us putting more money back into it.
This is probably happening, Dave, with any bill addressed to you in all caps.
Right. I'm referring to the electric company specifically, which is going up and going up and going up. And it's a topic that's before the people of Connecticut right now, and they're all alert to it and aware of it, and I'm complaining about it. So I mention it because it's in the public eye, if you will.
And what
have you been? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just wondering what your thoughts, Dave, are on it.
I'm sorry, my thoughts on it?
Yeah, what's your thoughts on it? I mean,
yeah. My thoughts are, well, I'm ordering a book called The Grid, which a buddy of mine who runs the Norwich Power Company. It's a private power company for Norwich, Connecticut, and I'm discussing that with him, and I want to read that book because it talks about how these things were established initially, and what I believe is going to be happening is ultimately you don't want to even give them a check because a check is evidence of a debt, of a promise, of a debt, of a belief that a debt is owed. So ultimately you don't want to give them any money if they're getting it out of a trust. But I'm being a little cautious about that because I don't want to be arbitrarily cut off in the middle of winter. So I'm probably going to do what you mentioned, which is just paying a fixed amount and letting it accrue and get bigger and bigger and bigger, but defending myself on the backside when it gets big enough where they want to claim that they have some right to the property or to the right of way or something like that, which is all this is pretty well covered in these 4 or 5 articles that Anna recently did from February, March, and September, I think, of this year. So I don't mean to be long-winded, but I think it's an important case for people to be alert to because it is in the public eye right now for all Connecticut people who maybe don't know how to handle it. I yield.
I'm just finding that with the balance forwarded, it's not going to be a separate, like I would do the trust payment if it was a bill on its own. I don't want to have my electric turned off in the middle of the winter. In the summertime, it wouldn't be that bad, but in the wintertime, it would be.
One of the ones that I'm using that Anna had presented to us recently in September was, hang on a minute, a letter to the trustees. Because I discovered as I explored the electric bill that, of course, they have a CEO, they also have a board of trustees, as it becomes obvious as we start looking at this. And they also reference on the bill that there's a difference between people who are residential or non-residential. And I recognize now that I'm not residential because I'm private. I'm not part of their system of zoning, which is agricultural, business, or residential. So there's a multiplicity of little exploration one has to make in regards to how they ultimately handle this. But the concern isn't so much that I mind paying the money, because we'll endure a lot of pain before we finally recognize something has to be changed, which is out of the Declaration of Independence. But I'm afraid that this bill is going to get heftier and heftier as time goes on, because they're looking at ways to, it's not going to go down. It's going to go up and up and up. That's my concern.
I heard that they approved some other charge that started September 1st, so the next bill is going to be even worse.
Right, exactly. Which is why I'm trying to stay ahead of it and trying to make use of all of Anna's presentations. And one of the most important ones was her article talking about how money. Hang on a minute. We're not even using money. we're using military script to be shorthand about it. But the only option ultimately is a MOSI, mutual offset credit exchange exemption, because everything else is absolutely not defensible in a bona fide court of law, which we don't have either in this state or this country, which is why we have to assemble and build it up. But I think it's important to try to get a handle on the truth, whether or not the truth is going to be accepted down the line. But duck and cover in the meanwhile, and don't get your power turned off. I yield.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. Well said. It's a fine, well, not maybe a fine line, but a dicey thing to walk through and
Sure.
And avoid getting your power cut off.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't mind paying the bill. I just want to make sure that I'm not going to be foreclosed down the line because I can't keep up with their inflationary expectations.
Mm. So I forwarded email to all of you guys that has those links from Terry Som. Hopefully you'll get that shortly. Does anyone have any other new business or things they'd like to bring up? So not hearing anything, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.